السلام عليكم يعطيك العافية. Hello everyone, can you hear my voice?
Yes, clearly.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending today webinar. Today we'll have our new keynote speaker, Dr. Leila Al-Halwachi from Bahrain University. Dr. Leila is the first Bahraini PhD holder in gender and management study, and she has a master degree in business administration, a specialist in human resources management, gender mainstreaming. She worked in Super Council for Women on National Plan for the Advance of Bahraini Women. And Dr. Leila, uh, she uh, she is an assistant professor in business school at Bahrain University. Thank you so much, Dr. Leila, for accepting our invitation. You have 45 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll open the floor for any of your questions. Thank you, everyone, and the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Leila Al-Halwachi. I'm from Bahrain. In fact, I get to know Dr. Ahmed through just like 2 weeks back at a conference in Amman, and in fact, very potential person, and he has introduced me to this platform. It's my pleasure today to present just some aspects of my expertise, which is feminism. And I've just prepared something like a sandwich, something just very small about it, and I would like to share with you. So I'm going to switch off the camera and start the conversation now. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see my presentation?
Yes, very clear.
Yes, okay. Okay, so today I would like to talk about feminism in general, how it started, just a historical perspective about it, and some glimpses about feminism in GCSE. I mean, in GCC. So okay. So when we talk about feminism as a definition, actually feminism is the belief in the social system. There has been a lot of debate about a person being a feminism. In fact, it came the first wave, second, and the third. And now we are at the fourth phase of feminism. I'll be talking about the first, second, and third feminism waves. However, just I would like to draw your attention that even for me as a university professor, when I teach these courses and I ask my students, are you feminist? Actually, this terminology scares my students from both genders when we talk about males and females, because immediately the males thinks that if you are feminism, it means that you are not manly, or you are not masculine, or you are using your ego or your masculinity. However, being a feminist, it means that you believe in female rights, men's rights, and children's rights. So that is when you are a feminism. So that is, I would like to correct this term, because even myself, like before being an expert and before doing my PhD in feminism, I thought that. But and many people in this part of the world think the same thing. So feminism is the belief system, is the belief in social, economic, and political equality of both genders, although it has largely originating in the West. However, feminist is manifested in the world, and it is represented by various institutions committed to activity on behalf of women's rights and interest. So let's talk about, throughout the most of Western history, women were confined to the domestic sphere, while public life was reserved only for men. So as you know, let's go back to the medieval age, at the caveman age, that when men and women were hunting for food. So men and women, both of them were hunting for food. I would like to talk about a small story about how discrimination has started. Well, actually, at the caveman era, when men and women were hunting for food, both of them were bringing food of the family. Then suddenly, they found that this woman, her stomach is enlarging, which is she's getting pregnant, is getting bigger and bigger. So immediately, the men at that cave told females, please, you are tired, do not hunt for food. So then females started sitting and men were hunting for food. Then they saw that out of the stomach, a baby's coming out. So then women were associated with being a devil and, an evil, because, a baby coming out from a human. So they were so scared. Then discrimination started, that a man is a breadwinner. So that is just a quick story how it started, how feminism started. That's why today we have this segregation. So in medieval Europe, women were denied the right to own property, to study, or participate in public life. At the end of the 19th century, let's say in France, they were still compelled to cover their heads in public. And in parts of Germany, a husband still had the right to sell his wife. I'm talking about the 19th century. So even at the late and early 20th century, women could neither vote nor hold elective office in Europe. And in most of the United States were several territories, and states granted women suffrage long before the federal government did so. So women were prevented from conducting businesses without the male representative. Even as and still it is, represented that women in our part of the world, in the Arab society, at some parts, women are not able to travel without a male, which we call mahram. So still with this ideology, still we have it. So is, to be accompanied with a father, brother, husband, or a legal agent, or even a son. So married women could not exercise control over their own children without the permission of their husbands. Moreover, women had little or no access to education and were barred from most professional in some parts of the world, such as restrictions on women's even continue today. Let's talk about the history of feminism. So the history of feminism has a core belief that women are and have been disadvantaged and oppressed because of being a female. So feminists have highlighted what they have seen as a political relationship between both genders, and the supremacy of men and the subjection of women in most, if not all, societies. Nevertheless, females has also been categorized by a diversity of views and political views. So if you can see my slide, we have the father of feminism, so it's Charles Forer. He's credited having coined he has coined the term feminism, actually, and it all stems from the causes of the culture, the historical moment, and the country, how the country has evolved. So here we talk, in this slide, I would like to talk about the first wave of feminism, how it started. So the first wave feminism of the 19th century, early 20th centuries, focused on overturning legal inequality. So it started with the legalizing, so inequalities in legal issues, particularly addressing issues of women's suffrages. So this is where women's suffrages has started in the States and in the UK. Then we have the second wave, which is feminism between 1960s to 1980s. broadened debate to include cultural inequalities and gender norms and the role of women in the society. Then the third wave encompasses, it focused on legal and political rights, in which we are at this phase. By the mid-19th century, the women's movement had acquired a central focus when we talk about the campaign, the female suffrages, and most famously the UK through the suffragette movement, which climated with men in 1928. So female suffrages, it was the principal goal because it was believed that if women could vote, all over forms of sexual discrimination or prejudice would quickly disappear. Then I would like to talk thoroughly about the second wave. Let me, oh yes, the second wave. So how the second wave had started? The second wave, a radically new development occurred in the 1960s and 70s. The so-called second wave of feminism, inspired by such writers such as Simon and in 1953, and Betty in 1963, and Kate in 1970, and most famously Germany in the female, her name was ITAR in 1970. So it was actually the second wave in the 60s and the 70s. It shifted the entire debate from what might be generally considered political to the psychological, cultural, and ethnographical field. So in the 60s and 70s, it has been a bit shifted. Then we have the third wave. The third wave of feminism, actually it emerged in the it's in the mid-1990s. It was led by the so-called generation, the Xers, who born in the 1960s and 70s in the developed world, came of an age of a media saturated and culturally, economically diverse millennium. Although they benefited significantly from the legal rights and the protection and had been obtained by the first and second wave feminists, they also criticized the position and what they felt was unfinished work of the second and the first wave. So it was the third wave where the media, when we hear where it started stereotyping women in the media. I don't know about, about our audience, but I do remember that when I was young, when I was a little girl, our media in Ramadan, it was like the female was doing the detergent or doing the cooking, and the man was reading a newspaper. So that is a stereotype. However, so stereotyping women to be, responsible for the house chores and male to be just sitting and chilling and reading newspaper or watching TV. However, if we watch the media today or the advertisement, even in Ramadan, it has changed radically. So we can see both male and females are sharing, for example, the housework together. So that is a shift in the fourth wave. So finally, cultural or the difference feminism, the last of the three currents rejected the notion that men and women are intrinsically the same and celebrated the qualities they associated with women, such as their greater concern with effective relationships and their nurturing production. And here where we started saying that males and female are completing each other. So that is the phase that when we talk about we need male and females together, not for equalizing, because male will never be equal to female, that is the fourth wave, and female will not be equal to male because of the physiological and the physical changes in men and women. So they are two different. However, they are completing each other. So we want diversity. So that is the new notion in the fourth wave. Just pay attention. We are not talking about equality, because equality, will not happen. However, we are here to complete. There are things which is in women's nature that there is no in men, and women can do it. And there are things in men's nature and they're not in women that men can do it. So we are here to complete each other and work under the diversity umbrella. So feminist theories, and at that time, many feminist theories has brought up their their assignments, their PhD dissertations, and their research, and then work to support the change and understanding through acknowledging and disrupting power and the oppression. So the feminist theory proposes that when power and oppression are acknowledged and disrupted, understanding, advocacy, change can occur. Feminism, the belief in the social, economic, and political equality in both genders. So although largely originating in the West, feminism is manifested worldwide, and it is represented by various institutions committed to activity on behalf of women's rights and interest. So feminist theories, actually, it aims to understand gender inequality and focuses on gender politics, power relationships, while providing a critique of these social and political relationships. Much feminist theory also focuses on women's interests and rights. So feminist movements and ideologies. In fact, feminism is an entire philosophy aiming at actually changing the life of contemporary women on the grounds that women and men have equal rights in all the areas of social life. So equal rights, first and foremost, mean the opportunity to fill any position available for men without discrimination. So what do I mean with that? So I mean, when there is any position in seniority, in senior managerial position, we don't have to push for a certain gender. So the door will be open for competency. Let's see whoever is more competent, male or female. Because if you go back, so the priority, there was favorism to have a male manager over a female. However, so then with the new wave, we just have to focus on their competency. So originating in the 18th century Europe, feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights, including the rights to vote, run for public office, work, and equal in earning and pay and own a property, receive education, and enter into contracts, have equal rights within marriage and maternity leave. Also, feminism, as I said, is a philosophy. We have many feminists in literature that has been brought up at that time, and they wrote many fictions and non-fiction and drama and poetry, which supports the feminist goals of defining and establishing and defending equal, civil, again, political, economic, and social rights for women. Feminist literature is any written text that supports feminist belief in the political and social and economic cultural life. So a feminist novels is one that not only deals explicitly on the stories, thereby the lives of women. So like we have many, many feminist writers, like, I'm talking about, the 1960s and 70s, we have Kate Chopin. Kate Chopin is one of the females that started to depict that in her fiction and show how the country, the UK, was suffering from discrimination. It's also a novel enumerates some of the aspects of female condition. So also these fictions have depicted the condition that these women were living, which is a kind of imperative for change and to make a bold and unapologetic political statement, which is the best for. And even at that time, the artists have started depicting female discrimination in their drawing and in their art and their sculpture. Even if you go to museums in Italy or France, you will see that kind of phase that was there. So feminism has dramatically influenced the way literary texts are read, taught, and how it was evaluated. And feminist literary theory has deliberately transgressed the traditional boundaries between literature, philosophy, and the social science in order to understand how gender has been constructed and how it has been represented in many languages and in many cultures. So here I would like to talk a bit about feminism in Bahrain. Actually, women's rights have been a cornerstone for the political reforms initiated by the king, our King Hamad Al Khalifa. The extension of equal political rights has been accompanied by a conscious drive to promote women into these positions, to seniority and to many governmental positions. However, women in Bahrain continue to face gender inequality in many areas. But it is, after like having the Supreme Council for Women, many things has changed. We are still facing challenges, however, but women in the parliament has exceeded the number that it was very potential in our parliament. Well, actually, this is my modest research about Kuwait. Just correct me if that is not updated, but in the discussion, we can talk about it thoroughly. So women's representation in Kuwait has doubled as well, with the women assuming high-level positions such as ambassadors, ministers, and municipal council. So Kuwaiti women have also advanced in global and gender gap index, ranking third in the Arab world in women, peace, and security. We have Safa Al-Hashim. I don't know if that is like, just if that is an updated name, has become the first and only woman elected to the consecutive terms of the Kuwaiti Parliament 2012 and 2016, but lost her seat in 2020. So you can update me about, about the parliament and how the Kuwaiti parliament is going on. I'll be very much interested. So women in the Gulf countries, let's talk about their perceptions and reality. So these days, a lot of discussions is taking place across the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates about the role of women in economic and social life. Why there are restrictions on women's mobility and economic activity? So that is a question, that we always, raise it in our seminars and in our conferences. Should they be modified or lifted entirely? How can women reach their full economic potential and contribute to economic development and growth? Maybe we can answer these questions in our discussion. Outside the GCSE, there is a lingering impression that women are limited to their choices by their families and societies as a whole deem acceptable. I know that is not the case anymore. So many women has been liberated, many families and societies, let's say in the GCC, has already modified their curfew for women being outside, and they have built the trust with their females. Many things has been modified. However, still we have some people, some women, some families that there is, restriction, and they are limited to a lot of access. However, the reality is more complex. In the past decades, the GCC countries have made a number of steps towards improving women access to education, healthcare, employment, as well as encouraging women to participate in the political life. Even maternal mortality, primary and secondary school enrollment, and higher education, this was part of the OECD countries. So education outcome for women in the GCC countries outpace those of their male counterparts. And women's participation in the labor force, especially in the MENA In the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa, countries lags behind other regions, however, and for some GCC countries, their indicators is still lower than the MENA average. So let's talk about in 1921, still it is 39% of the global workplace, where women, but in the MENA, women's share was just 20.3%. And in the GCC, it is even less. So close to half of the GCC region's population are women, and their full participation in economic activities would augment their children's prosperity and the overall economic growth of their countries. So delegates from Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia came together with the World Bank staff at the bank's annual meeting, which has been conducted in Washington, D.C. in October 2019 to discuss their countries. So what's happening in these countries? So the reaction to the findings of the World Bank that Women's Business and Law and Doing Business flagship report, both of which highlighted the need for more active gender reforms. So the officials provided information and reforms program implemented by their government and on the prospect of women's economic empowerment resulting from these, while the legal changes introduced recently by Saudi Arabia are extremely positive, such as lifting a lot of restrictions and freedom of movement by enabling women to obtain their passports to travel without permission of their male guardians, prohibiting discrimination in the workplace. More women in Saudi Arabia has been working at the workplace, and women are driving and protecting women from harassment, persecution. Other GCC countries began the process of enabling women to participate more fully in economic and social life much earlier and have made headway towards women participating in political life, as well as towards gaining a share of public employment and encouraging women's entrepreneurship. So the participants shared some of their experience from their own countries in Washington. And in Bahrain, for example, we have the Supreme Council for Women led the effort to inspire women to become business owners. The country has an incubator center from which women could base their business and sell their products. Women also have access to microfinancing loans to start their small businesses, which have subsidized interest rate. And in 2015, Bahraini women started the Riyadat Fund, focusing on medium to big business. So anyone who would like to start a business, Bahrain has made it easy for women so they don't need to be a working female to have these small micro loans. So Kuwait's experience have proved similar with its Supreme Council for Planning and Development, pushing for a future based on private sector initiative, both for men and women. Kuwait also has established the political incubators, not just economic ones. So women in Kuwait participate actively in political life and can be elected to the National Assembly. And Saudi Arabia may have started with a lower ranking for women in international indexes, but is also catching up with its neighbors at a very fast pace. Walking the street of Riyadh, one could feel the change that has been introduced over the last 3 years. Entering ministries and government agencies today, you find a good number of educated women sitting in offices and sharing responsibilities with their male colleagues. So the latest statistics from Saudi, from the business center in Riyadh, shows 42% of people using one-stop shop for small and medium enterprises are women. But still is a view of empowering women to become fully active participants in the GCC economic and social activities require further effort. And legislatives has changed or laudable, but need to support system developed to help female win elections and be promoted to work, open their own business, and become board members and high-level decision makers. So women's economic participation plays an integral to the success of the different visions of the GCC countries. The gain has already achieved in women's education, which should be used and become part of the building block of the workplace, and economic diversification agents. So today, like, you know, why we need feminism, okay? So feminism is not just a term, it's not just about rights for women, it is about the rights for the whole society. Children, men, society, everyone is included. It's also about human potential. When we deny one part, which is women, from being equal and having equal right, we are denying half of the global population an opportunity to fully live their lives, meaning that achieving gendered equality and prioritizing feminism means helping everyone around the world to live in a diversified global village. So here we have some, you know, university students saying we need feminism, and people are starting, you know, to support feminism. And yes, I am a feminist. No, I don't hate men. So I just want to tell you that whoever is feminist, we don't hate men. Feminists are advocates to not hate men. Actually, we are inviting men and female to be at the same boat and to complete each other. So this was my presentation. It was a short and sweet one. Maybe it had some terminology. So if you would like me to talk about an extension to that, I don't mind to have an extension in another session. If you have any question, the floor is yours. And I would like to know more about how the Kuwaiti woman in the parliament is doing. So this is what we would like to know today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dictora. Just a minute. Where's my, okay, just a minute. Okay. Thank you so much, Dictora Leila, for your presentation. Thank you for the informative information that you give to us. In general, feminism in general, and specifically in GCC countries, that you give us a really specific details about Bahrain, Kuwaitis, and Omanis, and others. Yeah. So in accounting perspective, let's say, and in Kuwait, and let's say in Kuwait, the board of directors, it's not a majority that there is a woman in the board and in business, but nowadays, women in board of directors and in higher or in high management positions, they are increased in GCCs in general, and also in Kuwait, and closely now, maybe 3-4 years ago, also in Saudi Arabia. Before it's none, but now there is the increased percentage of women. They take a good position in ministries and in companies. So yeah, and what you said about Kuwait parliament is right, and it's updated as you said. So yeah, really, I am really it was interesting topic, and really I like it. If anyone have any question for Dr. Leila, please just raise your hand, or you can write your question. Yeah, John, please. Johanna, just unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, Donna.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Leila, for your presentation. I wanted to know if Charles Fourier was the first to come up with feminism, and how, in your opinion, a woman should behave when she's in leadership position in the workplace to avoid conflicts when she's a victim of gender-based bias. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, Donna, for your question. Actually, you know, when we are talking about women in leadership positions, okay, actually, you know, women face the glass ceiling at a managerial position, which is a ceiling that prevents her from progressing at senior managerial position, where, you know, we have this club, which is, you know, dominated, and especially when we are talking about, you know, the C-suits, and we're talking about the board of directors, which is deeply, you know, saturated by men. But how women can reach this position? Actually, when we have competent women, when we empower these women, make them ready, work on them. So when women work on their organizational barrier, individual barrier, and social barrier. So what do I mean with organizational barrier? Organizational barrier, which is like, which is the law. When we have the law in the country, in which I think we have the laws in our GCC countries, that there is no discrimination between men and women. Men and women can obtain any higher position, so we don't have any restriction about that. When the HR at the organization, for example, if there is, let's say, a workshop in the UK, so I have to nominate 50 candidates. I have to nominate 25 female, 25 men. So this is the organization, how it should be equal. When we talk about the societal barriers, it is the social systems at home. So when we don't have favorism, males and females, you know, brothers and sisters, when the parents are not favoring, you know, one gender over another. So when education is for both, everything is equalized. So everyone at home is doing, you know, their housework and, you know, and equal. So this is how the social system works. And we have the individual barrier. The individual barrier is the most important thing, which is something, it is me as a female, which is individual barrier. Like women, usually they are timid and shy. So why they are not elected in these higher managerial position? Because they act like timid and shy. Because when they are in the meeting, they don't talk. I'm not talking the majority, some of them. So you're talking to me about the barriers that is preventing. So when women are showing that they are not talking, they are not participating in the discussion, that is an individual barrier in me that I have to work on it. I have to work on it and to be able to discuss, to participate. For example, I will give you an example. In an organization, if they call a female and they tell her, next week you are on a business call to Washington, D.C. Are you going? You know what females will say? Some of them. Next week, going? Let me ask my husband. Let me ask my mother. Let me ask my father. Let me ask the neighbor. Let me ask, and I will get back to you. The moment you say, I will ask, somebody else is in the queue will say yes. So when you say yes, that is the competency which makes, you know, the company that elect one, because there's no hesitation. So there are some individual barriers at the females that I have to overcome so I can convince that I'm capable, I'm competent. Did I answer your question? So I try to just, compile it. So do you want me to be more thorough, or did I answer you? Donna?
I think, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Well,
Donna?
when a woman is victim of gender-based in the workplace, how can she behave?
When a woman is, can you rephrase your question? Just can you, because I think my mic is not working properly. Just if you can rephrase it, or
Victim of gender-based
and when a woman is a
victim of gender-based bias in the workplace.
Okay.
Victim of gender-based bias in the workplace.
How she can be a victim if she is empowered woman? How I can be, so I will victimize myself by myself. However, if I'm confident, if I'm competent, I will not be victimized. I will tag myself as being victim by acting like I'm a victim. By saying, I'm poor, I don't have rights, women are taking any position, all positions, they are discriminated, by me saying it. But if women start be empowered and participating and showing their potentials, they will not be a victim. So woman is victimizing herself by herself in society. I don't know who agrees on that. As a woman activates, and according to the latest research and the research I have done, so woman can lift herself up. So when you fall down, if you say, I have ache here, I can't. But if you fall down, regardless of everything, you're showing you can. I don't know. Just
that's an interesting perspective.
That is
how about
research? Yeah.
And how about Charles Fourier?
Okay.
Was he the first to come up with feminism?
Well, actually, he was one of those, the theorists. Actually, when we talk about, the waves of chosen from this, I have many books, but I've selected one. So, still we don't know yet who is the first, but there are a bunch of theorists who has started this phase, but he's one of them who has come up with the term of feminism.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. We have another question with Ibtisam.
Okay, Ibtisam.
Yes.
Hi, Ibtisam.
Hello, hi. Thank you for the interesting presentation. I would like to know from research-wise, I know that in areas where there is a gender discrimination or like historical gender differentiation, gender should be considered as a factor in research.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so my question is, in GCC countries, is that the same case? Should we all, as academics or researchers, consider gender as a factor or maybe as a control for maybe having any potential confounding effect in our models when we do research something? Should we consider gender, yes or no? And if yes, I would like to know, is there any specific sectors like and maybe this should be a more obvious in service sector or in education or government services?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to know your angle upon this. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ibtisam. Ibtisam, are you a master's student or a PhD student, or want to do, or you are?
I'm a PhD student, and I was asked from my supervisor to control for gender.
Yes.
And I'm doing my research in Kuwait contest, so that's why I need to know your opinion.
Okay, that's great. So, well, actually, I can help you fully. You can take my contact from Dr. Ahmed, and I can help you in that aspect. However, I'm going to answer you, but being the first female, in the Gulf that has constructed the theory of feminism, I can help you in that aspect a lot. Well, actually, of course, you can. The gender is, it's a controlled. Of course, it's a factor everywhere. You can take it as a factor. However, in your conceptual model, you can't take gender as a term. You have to take a theory and work on it. So if you are in your conceptual framework in your PhD, okay, so we have to talk about theories. So what theories are you talking? Are you talking about leadership theories in feminism, emotional intelligence in feminism, or what exactly in feminism?
Well, my research is about IS, information system adoption within education.
Okay. So we have to see what are you doing, like which factor is affecting what. Then we have to delve into the theories and know which theory is more applicable for your research and will answer your research question. And about the industries, of course, you can delve into any industry. Feminism, gender is everywhere. So any industry can accommodate gender. I know you want more specific answers about your PhD. You can take my number and we can contact through WhatsApp. Is that okay, Ibtisam?
Yes, absolutely. That would be helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will reach out. Thank you very much.
All right. All right.
Thank you so much. And regarding Ibtisam, I think gender diversity is one of the hot topic nowadays. And recently, many conferences they talk the hot topic or the topic of the conference is gender. So
Yes.
yeah, you can talk about it in different perspectives, depend on your research, Ibtisam. So maybe if the female she's married or not, or divorced, or maybe about the education of her, maybe if she has a special certificates like CMA, CPA, and other professional certificates. Maybe about the nationality of this gender, maybe about the age of her. There is many perspective about gender that you can talk about it. So yeah, you can contact me and I will, of course, share Dr. Layla contact, and she is one of the specialists in this major, and inshallah she can help you in this regard. Dr. Layla, one question: how can the principles of feminism be effectively integrated into policies and practices in industries where gender inequality is still prevalent, and what role can individuals play in driving these changes?
Okay, I think that this is like 3 questions in one. I think this question is like 3 pillars. So if you can break it, because let me
Okay.
process it. Yeah. So the first
So
part, which is
how can we effectively incorporate feminism principle into policies and practices in industries?
Well, actually, when we talk about industries as an overall, how we can integrate or incorporate these gender policies, the policies comes from, it's not from us. So I'm sure that every country has their own policies. For example, in Bahrain, we have the policies, which says, men and female, which comes in the constitution of the country. For example, ميثاق البحرين في موجود in there is no discrimination between female and male in work and so every country has their own, so every industry can approach that when the rule is there. So, and when the legislation is there, then we don't have a problem. That's why I said when we don't have, when القانون there, when we have the law there, then the issue is not القانون, is not the laws. The issue is female themselves. They don't want to be in that sector, or they don't want to be in these higher positions, because many females, just to tell you the truth, for example, they don't want to work a lot. They say, I just want to work half a day, come, just go and chill. They don't want to these positions. So it's not only about the legislative that we have, it also depends on the individual barriers. That the barriers that female themselves put restriction on themselves. So we can't blame on the legislatives or the sector. For example, in engineering sector, nobody said don't enter engineering unless you don't want to, as a female, unless I don't want to enter that sector. Petroleum sector, nobody said female shouldn't study that or shouldn't be employed there unless she has decided not to be there. So,
but Dr. Layla, I totally, some of your answer, I agree with it. there is many government and institution, also companies. Yeah, the woman or the female, she study, for example, the engineering of petrol and other of these specific major, and they went to work on this, but they didn't give her the opportunity to work. She
Yes.
went, but they didn't give her.
Okay.
See, in Kuwait and also GCC countries, mostly I'm talking about industries and company, the private company, to let the women work on it. It's يعني يعني they يعني it's not يعني not a must. Okay, it's not a must. يعني مو لازم قصبا عليهم يوظفون الحريم. However, I don't know which country in Europe, I forget the name of the country, but they force, the government force the company to hire 50% of the worker, exactly, females. Also in the board of directors, they force them to hire 50% of it females. And there is, to be honest, many advantage of this. It's good to let women to be in this rule.
Actually, Dr. Ahmed, you know, in many countries, you know, in the board of directors and in some, as you have mentioned, and in some positions where there is a limitation for women representation, they started putting the quotas even in the parliament. Even in Europe, they have the parliament, even in Dubai. So they have the quotas. So the quotas, which is by force, in France, they started 30% women should be there, then 40%, then it increased to 50%, but started over the years. However, let's say in Dubai, they have it in some companies, but in other GCC countries and in other, even in America, they didn't approve it. You know why? Because if they think if they approve quotas, it means we are opening the door by force to appoint token women. What do I mean by token women? It means I have to appoint women to fill up this position even if they are not competent. Then they will be accused of being token. So it means I'm just putting a token woman in this position to tick the box. So this is the limitation that is happening. So that's why countries have said so why we have this decreased number or limitation? Because we don't have the quotas. However, myself, I believe that the quota is a good system. How? Because already there is imbalance in the society, already there is discrimination, and the quota is somehow a biased system. So in order to bring some equalization in the inequality that we have, it's okay to bring something which is, which is biased. So in order to cure something, I can bring even something wrong to do it, then I can take the quota, then the system will work by itself. Once the society is used to having male, then I can remove the quota.
Nice.
So some countries believe that we can have the quota, although a quota is not a fair system, but already we have unfairness in the society. So to cure unfairness, we can bring an unfair system, which is quota, to cure, then we can remove it. So this is another resolution.
Okay. Do you have a question, Suha?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I'm Dr. Saha Ashi from Lebanon.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Laila. Hello, Dr. Ahmad. Hope all is fine.
Hi.
Well, I was doing a study, Dr. Laila, about the effect of coaching on performance. So when I interviewed one of the coaches, he told me that it's more coaching has more impact on male rather than female, given that female are more busy or influenced by external factors more than men who are more focused. What do you think about that?
You said that in coaching, I couldn't hear you properly. So you mean that in coaching that males are more focused than females? This is what you mean?
Yeah, the coach found that
Yeah.
coaching affect positively male better than female. I don't
in
know if it's really
which
accurate.
aspect, like you mean, in which aspect it affects them?
Motivation,
Okay.
you know, soft skills coaching, meaning to improve. يعني
Mhm.
they male
Mm.
perform better after
Mm.
attending the coaching sessions
Mhm.
comparing to female, because female he believed that they are more distracted by like
Mhm.
you know their families, as you said previously. However, I wanted to take your opinion in this matter.
Okay. Well, actually, many studies, many fields study, many surveys, has been, distributed. So this is one sample. So it depends. This sample has been done where? Which geographical location? What is their age? Which territory? Which country? Which age? Which culture? Which, what is their norms? And are they working females or not working females? So it depends what is your sample. So maybe on that specific, females are, housewives, or maybe, so it's not generalized. So, it depends on the geographical location, it depends on the sample. I know it is, the study is valid, that's fine, but it depends. Maybe if I do the same study in Bahrain or the United States, the outcome will be different. I totally believe, yeah, that's correct. So whatever the study has conducted, it's correct, but it depends which geographical location and what is the status of the people who were in that study and sample. Of course, the outcome will be different.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
So if possible, if you don't mind, for Dr. Ahmed to share your like contact in case I have like other
Yeah,
things
yeah,
to
yeah,
discuss.
yeah,
Thank
fine.
you so
That's
much.
it will be okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. If you just contact me via email or WhatsApp, and I will get back to you. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
دكتورة I have in the chat فاطمة دياب. بالنسبة لإحصائيات ديوان الخدمة المدنية الكويتي، عدد المواطنات العاملات يفوق المواطنين 70% إلى 55، خصوصا في التعليم والصحة. أعتقد الإحصائيات التي ذكرتها الدكتورة قد تكون شاملة العمالة الوافدة اللي أغلبها رجال، وبالتالي نسبة النساء العاملات أقل في الخليج تحديدا. والله عدد المواطنات العاملات يفوق المواطنين بالكويت. انا ما ادري يعني انا اول مره اعرف هذه المعلومه، ان المواطنات يفوقون الرجال في الكويت، خصوصا في التعليم والصحه. But in sorry, because I'm a specialist in board director, my main specialty is about corporate governance وحوكمة الشركات, board of directors and these stuff. So in Kuwait, mostly less than 1, so 0.4 or 3, I forget, but I have the information if you want it. So less than 1%. So 0.4 or 0.3 in all companies that in Bursa. Yeah, so I don't know. Dictora, last question before we end this webinar. How can we use feminism ideas to improve gender equality in the GCC region? And what can people do to help make this happen? What do you think?
So Dr. Ahmed, how we can use feminism in gender?
Ideas to improve gender equality in the GCC region.
Well, actually, already, when we talk about countries like Bahrain, GCC, or Emirat, and now Saudi, they have done a lot into, feminism. In Kuwait, females have the full potential. I can see that, I think Kuwaiti women are more than capable. They have the potential. So, and it has been really integrated in equality. So even in Bahrain and now in Saudi. So let's forget about, feminism is only a concept. Okay, a concept, it's a belief system. So, it's a belief system that, you are a feminist who believes in that. However, gender equality, it is already in our legislative. So we are already, the World Bank is already enforcing that we should have these kind of laws and legislative, and we have it. So just we have to apply. بس احنا عندنا مشكلة التطبيق. القانون موجود، كل شيء موجود، بس احنا المشكلة انه we have to apply it. This is about feminism. Females can do a lot of things. For example, females can do committees, جمعيات. They can do a lot of things together to show that we believe in feminism. They can do, because in Lebanon they have a lot of these, initiatives that feminism rights. So these are like a group of females that they are spreading feminism. Okay, so we can do the same. However, let's talk about the religious values. Our religious values, Islam, already talked about, feminism ideas and ideologies. It already talked about equality. So for us being a Muslim, we already have it in our religion. So we don't have to fight for it. We just have to apply. If we apply the religious values, if we apply the laws that we have, then everything will be okay. So
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. Jahan said how to empower housewives from 40 to 70 who are suffering from chronic diseases, so they could make a positive impact in their community, believing that their age shouldn't be an obstacle to implement their projects.
Well, actually, education is for life, lifelong learning. So we will never stop learning. We will stop learning and understand in one aspect. When our heart stops, then we will stop learning. So there is no an age, a specific age. So females at their 20, 30, 40, 100, 90, 80, as long as they have the brain to function, they have to learn about it and how to make these housewives. Housewives can do a lot. There are a lot of activities that they can do. Okay, housewives can be entrepreneurs. Okay, they can do a lot of activities that can just empower them. For example, I know many females in Bahrain that they are above 50. They take a book, for example. They are a group of females. They take a book and they read it. Once a week, they meet in a cafe and they discuss the book. Just they are doing it. So this is which makes them active, and they discuss the book. So this is one activity just to chill and to just keep them active in what they like. So they can do a lot of things through activities. So they can be empowered, either they want to, establish their own business, to be an entrepreneur, or just they do initiate their own activities. So it depends what they want.
Thank you so much. Anyone have any question? Anyone? You can just unmute your mic and ask Dr. Leila before we end this webinar. Anyone have any question? Yeah, Dr. Khawla, we can't hear your voice. Dr. Khawla, we can't hear your voice. Okay, maybe you can write it in the chat, because your mic, I think, is not working. We'll wait for 30 seconds. Dr. Khawla, please. Okay. Dr. Khawla asked, do you think feminism contradicted with our region? Should we be selective?
Well, Dr. Hawla, feminism doesn't contradict with our religion. Actually, you know, the Islamic values, you know, talked about feminism from the early beginning. Let's talk about, you know, the Prophet's wife, Khadija. She was actually she was a businesswoman, and she was working. So when we start about the religious values, it never discriminates women from the society, and it never discriminates women from working. It was only the society themselves that they put this kind of discrimination. You know, it's not about the religion. Our religion is supporting, you know, equality.
Oh, thank you so much, Dictora. Really, I like your answer this question and how you connected with the Islamic perspective. So thank you so much. All right, I think we're done here. Thank you so much, Dictora Leila, for your effort and for your time. Thank you for the information that you give it to us. I really like today's presentation and your talk. And thank you for answering all of these questions. And we are happy to invite you again for another topic to present it with us. If you have any last word before we end today's webinar.
Well, actually, Dr. Ahmed, it was my pleasure to be at your platforms today. It was really my greatest pleasure to meet virtually, you know, my Kuwaiti colleagues, people, wherever I call it. It was nice hearing from them their questions, researchers, PhD students, whatever. It was a mixture of questions, and I'm very happy to help if anyone is doing any research or is well, I'm a feminist writer and, you know, a researcher, so we can write papers together, and I can help them at a individual help, individual if they need any help or support. We are here to help you, and thanks, Dr. Ahmed, and the people behind making this event very successful. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leila. Inshallah, next week we'll have another webinar with a new keynote speaker and new topic. Thank you, Dr. Leila, again, and see you all. Thank you for attending today's webinar. See you, inshallah, soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.